Welcome to another video, guys. Today we're gonna be talking about how you could be building your Tholin for tons of damage. You could be using this bad boy from anywhere between campaign, Hydra, clan boss, arena, and literally anything you could think of, and he will be an excellent damage dealer for your account. And also, you could actually get this guy for free if you start yourself a new raid account and use the promo code Demon Slayer in your first 24 hours, so I highly advise you, if you ever thought about starting a raid or getting yourself a second account, use my promo download link that gives you 4 amazing champions right after you start, and you could be using the promo code Demon Slayer in your first 24 hours to grab this bad boy. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, a like and subscribe would be awesome. And do let me know in the comments if you guys like these new audio settings. We worked quite long and hard on them, so I really hope we managed to nail them finally. Now, let's get into it. So, Tholin Foulbeard was a cool fusion from not too long ago, literally a couple of months ago, and he really is quite the banger to have on your account. He is a pure damage dealer with a little bit of debuff action going, so the build for this guy would not really be anything too special or hard to pull off, but still you need to know what you should be going for and what you should be avoiding. Going through his kit, it is not the shortest kit out of the world, but we're still gonna go through it. On the A1 we have Demon Breaker, attacks all enemies before attacking, has 25% chance of placing a big weaken for 2 turns. This would increase the 50 chance of placing weaken debuff for 2 turns if the target is from the Corrupted Alliance, a boss, or a minion. So basically if you're fighting dungeons, this is going to be a 25 increase, and also in arena if you're facing some of the Corrupted Alliance idiots, that will also be the 50% extra. This effect cannot be resisted by enemies from the Corrupted Alliance, bosses, or minions again, so pretty cool stuff. This also grants an extra turn if a weaken debuff was placed on all enemies, but the weaken chance is only 75% when booked, so this is not going to be super reliable, but it's definitely going to happen a lot more often than not against things like solo bosses, like clan boss, and so on and so forth. But still, it's not a guarantee. On the A2 we have a pretty significant single target smack. This thing attacks one enemy 2 times, and each hit will ignore 25% of the target's defense. If the target is from Corrupted Alliance, a boss, or a minion, it will ignore 50% of the target's defense instead. And also, each hit decreases the attack of the target by 5%, stacking up all the way to 25, while also each hit increases this champion's attack by 5% that stacks up all the way to 50. So this would be pretty sick against Demon Lords, Hydra, Chimera, and basically any fight that's gonna be lasting quite a while, because that would be quite a lot of extra attack. I'm not sure if this actually decreases the attack of things like Demon Lord, however, but I kinda think it should. On the A3, we have another very amazing AoE. This thing attacks all enemies 2 times, before attacking places a 50% increase attack on this champion for 2 turns. So basically he self-buffs, so you don't need to be bringing a support that does that for him. And also each critical hit landed on the first hit increases the damage dealt on the second hit by 10%. Obviously you are gonna have him built in 100 crit, so as long as you don't weak hit, this is gonna be increasing your damage by 40% in total for the most part. And this thing also ignores unkillable and shield buffs, which is pretty awesome in arena. When booked out, this thing goes down to a 3 turn cooldown. Same can be said for the A2, and on the A1 if you spend the books, you're gonna increase your odds of landing the weaken, which definitely ain't no joke. This guy also has a nice little passive. Evil's Nightmare activates Demon Breaker every 5th turn this champion takes. And not only that, but enemies from the Corrupted Alliance, bosses, and minions cannot land critical hits on this champion. So again, pretty nice little extra layer of defense for this bad boy, wrapped tightly in this whole amazing champion. We also have a pretty neat 30% increased attack aura, and that's really about it. Anyway, for those who have been paying attention, you're gonna notice this guy is a pure damage dealer, so you need to build him and such. What do pure damage dealers need? Well, it would be amazing if you get him in ignore defense, and obviously you're gonna have to build him in 100% crit rate, a ton of crit damage, a good amount of attack, and a decent amount of speed. So these are the 5 pillars of any good attack-based nuker. Going through the build I chose for him, I basically slapped some of my best merciless 6-piece gear for attack-based nukers, and here's what we have. Thanks to the 6-piece Merciless, we are going to be ignoring a grand total of 35% defense, guys. This is no joke. And also, we're going to get 25% extra attack, 15 crit damage, a little bit of speed, and the chance to decrease a random skill's cooldown, which is pretty awesome. If you could build him in a good 9-piece Merciless, that would also be obviously amazing. But my Merciless pieces were kind of mediocre for attack-based nukers, so I decided to just cut it off at 6 and give him a little bit of extra speed. With a couple of Feral pieces, even though it would have been much better with a couple of Pinpoint pieces, or maybe even a couple of Chronophage pieces just for the 10% extra speed instead of 5, because we don't really care about accuracy if you have noticed from his skill kills. Now, just because I have Merciless doesn't mean you will too, so we are gonna go through other potentially good sets this guy could be using, and the first one that's gonna be the most accessible for most would be in a 4-piece Savage. 4-piece Savage for this guy would be just as good, gives him 25 ignore defense on a 4-piece however, so you could supplement it with let's say a couple of cruel pieces, and that is gonna give you 15 attack plus 5 more ignore defense, so this would be a pretty decent early to mid game player build. You could also just build him in 6 pieces cruel, that's gonna give you 45% attack and only 15% ignore defense, but still pretty okay. If you're a little bit more mid game, you could be going for a 4-piece lethal, 2-piece cruel, or 2-piece anything. Like you could even give him 2-piece speed if you feel like you're lacking, 2-piece crit rate, 2-piece crit damage, that kind of stuff. Doesn't always have to be the biggest cracked out sets you could be going for. But yes, 4-piece lethal would be amazing. It's basically an instant upgrade from the Savage gear, because this one does give 25 ignore defense, but also 10 crit rate, which is huge. So this is why everybody is telling you gotta be farming Dark Fae as much as you can, and this is why I have a detailed guide about this. The rotation just ended, but definitely make sure you're prepared in 3 months when she comes back. Another great set you could be using here would be the Instinct set. We did have a Forge Pass with Instinct pieces not too long ago, so you can definitely be throwing a lot of Instinct on this guy. 4 pieces will give you 20% ignore defense, but also 12% speed, so that's definitely pretty good. And technically speaking, even a 6-piece Slayer set would be absolutely amazing. Obviously 9 would be best, but yes, this guy has 2 out of his 3 skills doing AoE, and his A2 already ignores a big chunk of defense anyway, so you could actually go for a 6-piece ignore 30% of enemies when using AoE skills with the Slayer set. That's also gonna give you a lot of crit damage, crit rate, all of that good stuff. So if you have bought yourself a Slayer set Forge Pass, Instinct set Forge Pass, both of those would be pretty good here. But if you have been free to play, Savage, Lethal, and Merciless would be definitely pretty good options. If you don't have any of those sets, don't worry. Ignore defense is nice, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have it. It's definitely gonna increase your damage by a lot, but you're still gonna have yourself a pretty good damage dealer just by throwing him in any old pieces, just for the sake of stats. In the end of the day, stats over set really does take priority, especially when building your early game champions. You really need to get the good stats. And what are the good stats? We're gonna be looking on the different pieces. For boots, it definitely would be advisable to still go with speed, but if you give him 60% attack on the boots, that would also be pretty good. Just make sure he's at least having something around 200 speed, so he's not too much slower than the rest of your team. But 9 times out of 10, speed boots would be the way to go. For the chest, give him attack percent, no questions asked. Anything else would be a very big compromise. In the substats, we're looking for crit rate, crit damage, speed. Those will be the big 3. On the gloves, however, ideally, you're gonna build him in crit damage gloves, preferably 6-star, because that gives you a grand total of 80% extra crit damage. But if you're too early game, crit rate gloves are still gonna get the job done, and heck, you could even build him straight up in crit rate gloves as long as you have a lot of tons of crit damage substats on the rest of your gear. That's still gonna give you a pretty respectable build altogether. But yes, crit damage would be priority on the gloves as a main stat. Crit rate would be a very close second best. And again, on the substats, you're looking for the other one. If you have crit damage, you're gonna be looking for crit rate. If you have crit rate, you're gonna be looking for crit damage. And speed and attack would be awesome. With the shields, for those of you who don't know, shields can never roll attack percent or attack flat, so don't try to be looking for those. Here you're gonna be looking for crit rate, for crit damage, and for speed. On the helmet, you could be getting attack percent, crit rate, crit damage, speed. Those will be the big 4. And same can be set for the weapon, speed, attack, crit rate, and crit damage preferably. Moving down to the accessories, here if you've picked yourself a 4-piece, 2-piece set, you would be doing yourself a big favor if you throw him some accessories from the big 9-piece sets. As you see, I chose a couple of really good pieces from the Feral set on my account. Obviously, you're gonna be looking for main stat crit damage here, hopefully ascended into crit damage. The substats don't matter all that much, it's just gonna be a drizzle of attack, which is the only thing you could be looking for, but just get yourself crit damage, guys, doesn't really matter. For the ring, you're looking for attack flat that also has a nice roll on attack percent. This Feral ring definitely looks pretty awesome, could have been even better, but God knows it could have been worse. And as for the banner, again, you're looking for flat attack ideally, good amount of speed, and a good amount of attack, and that's exactly what I got on this pinpoint. If I really want to be min-maxing blessing, I can definitely throw in pinpoint ring right now. This one is actually close to the one I already have. If it rolls another attack, it might be worth it. It actually did. It's still gonna be a little bit less than what we already had, but yeah, let's just give this so he's just a wee bit faster. The damage is gonna suffer by a little bit, but not by a lot, like 67 attack for +5 speed. We take those, I need HAT. So here we have it. This is gonna be a much better trade-off for me. Getting that extra speed definitely is worth it. And here you could also, if you're short on crit rate, you could throw yourself a single piece of Slayer if you have one laying around. I actually do. Heck, I even have a crit damage amulet, although it's only a 5-star. But still, it's definitely worth thinking. If you're 5 crit rate short, throwing yourself a single piece of the Slayer set always saves builds like that. Moving down to the Blessing, you have several options here. If you are going to be using this guy for things like Clan Boss, Hydra, Chimera, basically any long battles, it would be best if you actually give him this Nature's Wrath blessing, because this is going to increase the damage inflicted by this champion for every debuff they have successfully placed throughout the entire fight. So if you are lucky enough to have 5-star Ascension on him, it was actually not super hard to get that not too long ago, this will be increasing your damage by a lot, stacking up all the way up to 15% through the fight, so that would be awesome. But if you are going to be bringing yourself Nature's Wrath, make sure not to be bringing another champion that's going to be bringing Weaken to the fight, because if that happens, Tholin is going to have a much harder time actually getting himself all of that extra damage fast. Since I'm not planning to use this guy too much in Hydra and so on, I've actually opted for the second best option here, which would be Soul Reap. Only pick Soul Reap if you actually have a decent Ascension on it though, because it's not really that worth it if you have it at less than 5 stars really, so take that with a grain of salt. Even though at 3-star it's still kinda okay, I don't know, it's up to you. It might be not as amazing, but still, 8% is fine, 14 is definitely where the money's at though. And this way you are going to be getting yourself again tons of damage, especially actually if you're fighting Tholin in Clan Boss. If you actually wait for your clan teammates to be beating the Clan Boss first and bring him down under 14 or 8% or less, you are actually going to be proccing Soul Reap quite nicely against that boss, which is a nice little hack for extra damage, especially if you're actually not ready to be dealing all of that required damage on some of the bosses. Other than that, Crashing Rend would also be a pretty good option, but from what I hear, this would only be worth it if you actually bring him all the way up to 6 stars. I don't know if 5 stars is enough. Here the drop off is quite a lot. This only is going to be dealing the ignore defense on the first 2 hits each round, which is not ideal, whereas on 6 star it will ignore percentage of the target's defense always, and also the ignore defense raises all the way up to 6 instead of only 2 on the 5 star, so that would definitely be pretty awesome, but only at 6 star. Technically even Cruelty could be used, but this is much better on support champions if you ask me. And if you're using him on Arena, Lightning Cage might also be a consideration. Technically speaking, this could also actually work in things like Hydra or Chimera if you're afraid of those stealing your buffs. But I think that wraps it up about the blessing part. For Masteries, here's what I went for. It's a pretty standard build. I grabbed it from Hell Hades, but here there are a few caveats you need to be thinking about. For instance, I did go with War Master just because I have so much ignore defense on this bad boy already. So this is gonna give me a nice little increase of damage from War Master altogether, and this would be the option newer players would be going for, by the way, because this is gonna deal a lot more damage than its counterpart, which would be Helm Smasher. Helm Smasher is just as good on Tholin, but here it comes down to how much damage you already actually have from the gear on your Tholin. So if you're endgame, this might be the better option, especially if you don't have him in a 6-piece Merciless. This would help you ignore a lot more defense, but since I already have him in a lot of ignore defense, I think we're going into a diminishing returns kind of deal, and I still went for War Master. I might be wrong, but do let me know in the comments if you guys think I should have gone for Helm Smasher as well. This is the damage tree, pretty standard stuff. You could opt for this thing, Life Drinker, if you want to be keeping him alive a little bit easier, but for my case, I would be using him mainly in things like Hard Faction Wars, so this guy killing stuff, getting himself 18 extra speed definitely is going to be a lot more worth it for me, but the rest is pretty self-explanatory stuff, basically the standard damage stuff. There's a new mistake I used to do back in the day, by the way. First, I built my champions, got him all the way to 100% crit rate, and then I started building Masteries, and sometimes when I saw I already have 100 crit rate on the champion, I decided to go with 75 attack, guys. God damn, that's such a noob mistake. I'm pretty sure a lot of you still might be making. So this is the only reason why I'm pointing this out. Always get the crit rate first, guys. Doesn't matter. I don't care if you're at 200 crit rate already. get yourself the 5% crit rate, and later optimize your build with less crit rate and more crit damage instead. Never take the goddamn 75 attack, man. Like, this literally is equal to 1% crit rate, so like that is the biggest noob mistake I am also guilty of doing for at least half a year when I first started, so don't be an idiot like me. You're already watching videos, might as well save yourself this stupid mistake. Anyway, moving down to the other trees, here we are picking the green tree, and I have seen how Hades picks the green tree on all options, and I think the main reason for that is this counter attack retribution. Has a 50% chance to counter attack when this champion loses 25% of their max HP or more from a single enemy. So basically, when a boss smacks you, you have a 25% chance to smack back, and your A1 does smack hard, so definitely very worth it to get this thing. Although, if we gotta be completely honest, it would not be a bad idea to be getting yourself Lore of Steel, especially if you build him in a Merciless. It's not gonna be great if you build him in a Lethal set or a Savage set, but if you build him in Merciless, this is gonna give you a little bit of extra stats, but I would definitely prefer going for Retribution. The other stuff from here really is not that worth it. As we already established, accuracy doesn't really help you all that much, so don't get baited into going for the support tree. As for relics, the most basic relic you could be giving this man would be the Malefic Talon. That's what I did just for the sake of the extra crit damage, and the 20 extra chance of 10 more damage is not the worst in the world. But if we gotta be completely honest, if you want to get yourself the most cracked out Tholin possible, you could be giving him something like a Cat's Gaze, but God knows my account has much better champions than Tholin than to give him my good Cat's Gaze on him. And from what I hear, the Stormcaller would be an absolutely amazing relic if you actually manage to get it on him. That would help you big time. Again, tons of crit damage on it, and also the Stormcaller buff ain't no joke. You're always going to be landing crits, so why wouldn't you be getting this thing? What the Stormcaller does is each Stormcall stacks increases the damage dealt by a champion by 5%. So this thing stacks all the way up to 25. And a champion can have a maximum of 5 Stormcaller stacks at one time. When attacking with 5, however, places a stun debuff on the target and remove all Stormcall stacks. And also this stun cannot be resisted, which is actually pretty awesome for wave-based content more often than not. But honestly, the stun is kind of weird, guys. Isn't it? I guess for Arena this thing could help a bit more, but I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's basically just because of the damage. The stun is just something a little bit of extra that probably wouldn't do much against most bosses. Obviously you can't be stunning bosses. Anyway, I don't remember if my fat head was in front of the stats the entire time. Maybe it wasn't, maybe it was, but here is what the total stats on Tholin look like for me. Tons of attack, not gonna lie. Good amount of speed, enough crit rates, good amount of crit damage, and the rest is whatever. I don't really need all of this accuracy. I'm basically getting tons from the blessing, tons from affinity bonuses and whatnot, so my artifacts are just fluking a little bit of extra accuracy on him. So yeah, do not go out of your way to be building accuracy on him. Let's throw him in a few places so you guys can see him in action and decide for yourself how much you want to be building. And fun fact, but this bad boy can actually smack in stage 12 6 Nightmare campaign. I actually did not expect this guy to be able to do that, but he indeed does. Here, let me show you what he is capable of. And I really was pleasantly surprised what this man can do. Look at this. This is the hardest stage in campaign, guys. It's not the fastest out of lot, but God knows it ain't slow. Okay, this was a slower run than usual, by the way. I'm pretty sure I had a much faster run with him. And don't forget, guys, this guy is not even booked out for me right now. There you have it. Actually decent. And you could even try to be building him as a campaign farmer for you for the brutal section. You could be doing something like stage 12 free brutal with him. But here it's probably going to be better if you turn off his A2. So that does mean you're probably going to be better with a team setup, which definitely is not ideal. But yeah, he's going to be doing stupid things like this if you don't turn that off. And this wave probably should have already been done in that case. But yeah, respectable campaign farmer for sure. God knows I would have been so happy if I had something like this back in my day. I used to use Artak for crying out loud. Anyway, let's not bore you too much with silly campaign fights anymore. Let's move down to something a little bit more important, which would be Hydra. I already built a Hydra team around Tholin here. We have Lydia in here, which is the champion my mother warned me about. Like I told you, if you want to be giving Tholin Nature's Wrath Blessing, you want to be bringing a champion that does not bring weaken, so that Tholin can actually be doing that instead. So in this case, Lydia would not be a great combo for Tholin, but since I already picked Soul Reap for him instead, this would be fine. Anyway, the rest of the team is just your typical support champions for a Hydra fight. We have drop defense plus weaken, we also have increased speed, we have ourselves a Reviver with Perfect Veil, increased attack. I also brought ally attack in the form of Podrick, which is pretty nice. Increased speed doubles up with Lydia, but whatever. We have Hex plus Provoke on Nargogante Archer and another damage dealer, so we can actually compare them side by side. My 4 actually is built quite properly as well. He is in a 4-piece stone skin, however, so he's not super maxed out, but he does have a Cat's Gaze on himself. He does have more crit damage. His attack is a lot lower actually than Tholin. As you see, we have 3000 more attack on Tholin, like damn. But other than that, the stats are very comparable, like only 5% crit rate damage, and the other difference would be we don't have Cat's Gaze on Tholin, so there's that, but I will not be spending all of those materials just to swap them out, so let me just show you what Tholin does here. He actually is quite the smacker himself. I don't think he smacks as hard as 4 does, but if you don't have 4, Tholin definitely would be a worthy substitute for him. Okay, let's put the A3 out of 4, get that drop speed, and here is Tholin's attack number uno. With 245 on the damage counter, let's see what that A3 do here. About 1 mil, I'd say. 1 mil, 250. Not bad at all for a first smack, I can tell you that much. Let's see how he does things on a decapitated head, however. Okay, that was a pretty nice A1 for him. That was about 1 mil, by the way. Let's cut off the other heads. 4 does a great job at doing that. Look at this nonsense. Jesus, 4 scary. Okay, let's cycle through Lydia's A2 again so we can see a proper smack out of him. There we go. This time there's not gonna be any Hex on, but still, sadly, his A3 is not ready, but let's see what that A1 does here. Look at that, 3 mil. Not bad at all. Hopefully we cycle through back to him. I think we will. I just hope my other idiots don't kill the decapitated heads in the meantime, however. Okay, I'm gonna use the Hex here. Nargogante Archer doesn't have that much damage on her, I think. There we go. Problem is, on the A3, Tholin does have a 2-hitter, but he will actually not hit twice because he's gonna kill everything with the first smack, so that's not ideal at all. God damn it, 4, now you're gonna kill somebody, aren't you? God damn it, killed both the heads. Oh well, we're still gonna be able to see some single targets smacks here. Let me slow them down, and let's see, this one's green at least, this one's red, so maybe we're gonna weak hit, but let's see. Well, about a mil a head, about 1 mil per head. Definitely not the worst out of the lot, all around good stuff. Let me just put it on complete auto for a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna end the battle and see what the final verdict is. Okay, let's just leave Tholin one more smack and call it a day for this. Let's not forget my Tholin actually is not booked out yet, so that definitely is hurting the damage output here for sure. But yeah, I think that is enough. Let's end the battle and see what the final verdict is. And there you have it, guys. Tholin 11 mil, 4, let's call it 15. But again, Tholin not booked, 4 with the Cat's Gaze, definitely pretty worthy. Definitely pretty worthy. Yes, 4 does bring the decreased speed as well, but nowadays against Hydra that's actually not as valuable. Basically, decreased speed increases the turns where your champions can't do shit because the Hydra actually has their block damage buffs on. But yeah, as you see, they are very, very comparable. I guess I can also just throw him in Doom Tower and show you how he climbs waves. I can literally just duo him with Deacon Armstrong here, but I think it would be better if we just put Lydia instead, just because the weaken debuff she brings is much better for the test of the A3 at least. There we go. Let's just see what kind of damage you could be expecting on waves. Put it on auto, slow him down. And there you have it. Basically 100 a pop. It is a double slapper, so pretty proper stuff. A proper knee slapper, one might say. That was his A3. Right now he used his A2, but let me restart the wave and show you what he does with his A1 once we have both drop defense plus weaken and debuffs on. Here's how it goes, and I'm gonna turn it off auto so we can actually use the A1 this time, because he always is gonna be using the A3 instead. Couple of bad affinities against us, but there you have it, guys. 60, 70 mils on the A1. Kinda cool, innit? Kinda cool. God knows I wish I had this guy back when I was struggling with these levels. Pretty good stuff. Here you go. Insane Z's. And here's a funny little thing a lot of people are probably gonna be somewhat envious of. I'm just gonna slap him Deacon Armstrong plus Tholin and show you how easy the floors are actually. Once you get yourself proper gear, they can literally just duo this whole thing. Heck, I could even just solo it with Marius, but that's not what we're here for. You can also check out my detailed Deacon Armstrong guide too. It just came out a few days ago, so if you want to know how to build Deacon the proper way, you might want to give that one a check. And on the last wave, sadly we don't have cooldowns on, so that's not ideal. Now we do. Drop defense is operational, and there's that A3. Neat. Oh, pretty cool stuff now in it. One thing I forgot to mention is if you're gonna be building this bad boy for Arena, it would be ideal if you give him 4 stone skin pieces, probably 3 accessories plus one of the top row items. The rest should be either Savage, Lethal, Instinct, that kind of stuff. You get it, just basically ignore defense set. And the last piece could be literally anything. Could be a broken piece, could be a single merciless piece just for the extra 10% attack, could be a Slayer piece for the extra crit damage, that kind of stuff. So if you want to be bringing him for Arena, that would be ideal for you. He's also definitely worth booking out, so if you have yourself books laying around, he would be doing a lot more for you at the low price of 10 sacred books. So that's gonna be for this video, guys. I really hope this Tholin guide helps you build him the right way so you can smack tons of damage with him. Do let me know in the comments if you have another popular champion guide request I could be doing for you, and I will do my best to do so. Hope you found the video helpful, and if you think I've earned your subscription, I would really appreciate it if you do so. Don't forget you can check me out live on stream each Tuesday and Thursday if you want a free account takeover, and also, if you're thinking about starting yourself a second account, grab my promo link, use the Demon Slayer promo code, and get yourself Tholin. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.